Hey everybody, welcome back to my dry January, or otherwise known as non-alcoholic beverage tasting series. I'm going dry for the whole month of January is the plan. I'm going to try a different non-alcoholic beer or gin during that period and review them online here. Don't talk usually too much about the not drinking part, but I thought I'd add in, today was a Friday, which was our first Friday of doing this thing. And I found that particularly hard not to have a drink. So came home after work. Usually me and the wife will open up a bottle of wine, sit, have a relax after a week of work. I did have a fake gin and tonic, and that made it really nice that I could still sit down with her and relax and enjoy some conversation. So these are definitely a helpful thing if you're trying to cut back on drinking, and there could be any number of reasons you want to do that. You could be trying to reset your alcohol tolerance. You could be trying to cut back on the amount of alcohol that you take in, either in a week or a day or whatever. It could be alcoholic, whatever, reasons. I don't judge anybody for anything, but I think it's great that the market for these non-alcoholic beers, gins are the two that I'm reviewing. There is a whole bunch of other non-alcoholic products out there that they don't really float my boat. I'm not going to review those. Yeah, so anyways, let's get going with this. Today we are reviewing a Lake of Bays Brewing Company Pale Ale. So this is a 0.5%, so a near zero. I consider these non-alcoholic 0.5% as much of anything. So Lake of Bays is in Ontario. I don't know how much you know the geography of Ontario, but north of Toronto, north of Barrie, north of Aurelia, north of Gravenhurst, if you know any of those sorts of places. Looks pretty cool. I looked them up online. I've obviously never been there. I live in BC, but they were founded in 2010 by a gentleman by the name of Darren Smith when he was 23 years old. So that's pretty cool, young entrepreneur. Sounds like he's made a good go of it. It's been going 13, 14 years, whatever that ends up being. So that's pretty cool. And he's also opened, so they're located in Baysville. And he also has opened some brew pub locations in Huntsville and Bracebridge. So sounds like it's a successful business. They also do lots of regular beers, and they have quite a variety of non-alcoholic beers, and I've got, I think, 2 of them to review. Again, all of these I buy myself, and so I'm not influenced or anything like that. This particular one, we have 25 calories for a 473 ml can, which makes it pretty darn low. So like I was saying before, if you're trying to drink fake beers to help you lose a bit of weight, this would be another great candidate. Just looking for ingredients, we have water, malted barley, wheat, hops, and yeast. It doesn't list any. Oh, there it is. 24 IBU, all natural, partially filtered. Malts are pale malt, dextrin, wheat, carafa, and carahel. Hops are Magnum and Eldorado, and then it also says it's been dry hopped with Eldorado. So, sounds like a pretty damn decent beer, pardon my language. So, let's give that one a crack. Me turning it back and forth has made it all foamy. There we go. Okay. So, decent head, but it is very large, bubbled, dissipating quite quickly. Not that uncommon in a number of non-alcoholic beers, although it seems like some people have managed to get around that. Sorry, we'll turn the Stella label off there. Just hold that up to the light. Quite a light color for a pale ale, and yeah, and usually the carafa, I don't know how you pronounce that, is a darker one. You would think it should have imparted a darker color to that, but not a lot on the nose. Very little on the nose. Little citrusy. Definitely not a lot of malt like I would normally say in a pale ale. There definitely is calling it a pale ale. So I would not say this is typical of what I would call a pale ale. A very large bubble. I don't know if that bugs. I find that because to me it's the difference between beer and pop, right? There's definitely a larger bubble. Slight hint of maybe even coffee or toffee. We call that toffee. And there's a little hint of perhaps bitter orange on the finish, a little bit more of the hops on the finish. Not a lot of hops right up front. Definitely a summer beer, not a winter beer. Like I normally think of pale ales as more of a winter beer. Other than just kind of the little bit of sort of bitter hoppy finish, a little bit of that orange in there in the finish, I find this to be a lot more like doesn't quite have that lager flavor, but like a typical lager than I would call it a pale ale. It's not a bad beer. It's just if I bought I bought a pale ale and this is not what I expected it to be. Yeah, I'm trying my best to pull out extra flavors. Like, I'm running some air over my tongue and pulling in some air after I swallow. I don't, yeah, it's not an overly complex beer. There's not a lot of stuff going on there. It's a nice, easy drinking beer. There's nothing offensive about it. There's nothing outstanding or special about it either. Yeah, just that little bit of toffee is about the only thing that remotely resembles some sorts of malts. And I find it odd that you would use a wheat in a pale ale. Yeah, it's almost even closer to a wheat beer, but without that sort of haziness and whatever. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one. It's interesting. It's the first one that I've tasted that I would be like, yeah, I wouldn't buy that again. The rest of them have all been, they've been up and down and whatever else. But I would be like, oh yeah, I'd buy that for sure. If somebody gave me one, I'd definitely drink it. I mean, it's not like it's Molson Canadian or something like that. Yeah. So I think I would give that in a rating, I would give it a 7. I mean, I think if you go much lower than that, it probably means I wouldn't even drink the thing. Yeah, so Lake of the Bays Pale Ale. We're going to give that one a 7. Come back and see us tomorrow. Depending how things go, I've got my regular D&D crew on Saturday, and I'm going to see if I can talk them into trying maybe 2 or 3 different beers, and we'll have more of a sort of a few other opinions and a little more of a session. I think I've got actually one more can of this. Maybe I should bring it there, and maybe they'll give us a different opinion. Yeah, so anyways, that's it for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.